Tell her she has to come the other way. She has to come the other way.
Just in that face off?
I think so.
How many times there was an extra man and we scored or didn't score. Face-off wins and losses. Timeouts, penalties, time per penalty. Did he make that?
Yeah. Is that Freddie?
Yeah. Rule 7.
So you'd write like Max got a ground ball.
Yeah. And then I put a tally on how many ground balls we got this.
Get that.
Chris just took a shot, so I have to write that in. That was good. I love when he does that.
Yeah.
How's the clock operating?
So far, so good.
They're down there.
They're down there. They didn't want to come up here because they said penalties. They get yelled at. They're not down there to scream out penalties. But they're not staying the whole game because nobody knew that it was a try. They didn't know either. No, and on the schedule it just says Howler.
These are 12-minute quarters?
I think so. I thought they were 20-minute halves, so it'll be 10.
Oh,
They like put them up there.
But how's it at 7 minutes
Put them
already?
up there and I'm like, oh, no,
But-
go out.
Can we keep scoring? I don't know. Clock's though.
I don't blame them. I can't believe how weapons you
Well, they poured one of these.
go into a hole. Wednesday.
Freddie ground ball.
Chance I won't be here.
If you need a tissue, I have them.
Go up to
Thank you.
Canada for a job there.
You getting a job?
It's not. You got Jackie? You got Jackie and
Yeah.
we have a new phys ed position for
The goalie sucks.
elementary.
CNJ, that's where you take such development to the teachers.
You know, I gotta be honest with you, TCNJ people lately, you know, it used to be they were all quality candidates, and now it's like, it's kind of like 50-50. Because you get, and I'm just talking from a phys ed standpoint,
Right.
because you get these kids that are, you know, brainiacs, you know, that are, you know, it's hard to get into that school.
It is?
But TCNJ? Oh, God. Trying to get into TCNJ, almost getting into the Ivy League school. So you get those kids that are smart enough to.
She was maybe so smart,
Yeah.
she couldn't portray anything to the kids. But she was smart, like,
I think a lot of times when you have to like work to figure out how to get to a certain point, it's easier to teach kids because when a kid doesn't understand something, you know, you have an understanding on how they
They're good at face-offs. They've won
have
30.
trouble figuring it out. Whereas if you're a really smart person,
can't put
you're
your
like,
mind around
you're
why
like,
you're doing
what do you mean you can't? This, and this, and this, and this is the way it works. You know, and I like that.
I think the girl, not that's where Shawnee. The girl, one of the new math teacher, I think she came from there.
Say to me, and I'm like, when you're getting evaluated, if you get evaluated by a person that's fairly close-minded, you're screwed because just because it's one way that they think, you should be teaching kids.
Right.
teach kids. Because teaching has changed so much over the years. I mean, it used to be straight lecture for 45 minutes. Kids sat there with a pen and pencil, and now it's everybody's got a computer. You have to be diversified. You can't just teach one way. And the other thing is kids just don't have an attention span anymore. If you stay on something more than like 20, 25 minutes, you're going to lose the whole class, you know?
No, I teach for the full 84 minutes.
No. I'm not saying, I'm saying you have, I'm
But I
saying.
bounce. I
I'm
teach them,
saying-
then they do,
Yeah,
walk around.
you have to,
I can't lecture them.
you can't stand up in front of the board
And write on the
for
board.
84 minutes. You know, you'll have kids shooting each other.
But I don't use that as. All the kids do on there, all they do is watch videos.
I gotta tell you,
They watch movies all the time.
I'll be honest with you, like,
It's a nightmare.
block scheduling is for certain subject areas. Like for physics, is great. For science, it's pretty good.
I like
Right?
it.
You do?
Yeah.
I
I don't know if I can go back to a 45 minute.
I don't like 84 minutes for like, math would be the one I would think would be a freaking nightmare. Pretty-
The only thing is that the kids now, so like technically that's 2 classes if you're doing 45
Yeah,
minutes.
right.
And all of your lessons are designed to do a section a day.
Yeah.
So we do a section in 84 minutes, and the kids like move like fast. I'm like, well, technically this would be 2 days if we were at 45 minute. Like, I'm spending too much time on this section. And then they think that their test should be a full 84 minutes. And some quizzes I design, they're like, they should be 30 minutes. They're like, we should get the full 84. I'm like, the quiz. Test I would give them longer. But again, I can't give them a test longer than an hour, so if they go to the testing center, you only get an hour.
You can't get a test longer than an hour?
I wouldn't know. Because then when they go to the testing center, then they could
So what do
actually
you
get
do
an
the
hour.
other 25 minutes of class?
I always review for the very first 5 or 10 minutes and answer questions. And then they test. Or if after they're done testing, they start my next lesson. Because the kids that are absent and they go to the testing center, then their parents complain, well, the other kid's at 84 minutes and Mike only an hour.
So these officials today are running a game.
They're doing the getting when they're on it. I mean, one cadet.
See, the Senate president wants to take away our, make us pay for our health benefit when we retire now.
I know. That just came out. That's why people retired before. Because they didn't want to pay for their benefits. They wanted to get whatever they could.
Nice dick, Dick.
It's free.
Yours is?
Yeah. I'm long enough where mine is paid for. Now, that's a little misleading because once you become 65, it becomes your secondary insurance.
Right.
Medicare,
So you have to take Medicare. My dad,
he can't because he worked for the government.
right, so he has another insurance, and every time he goes to the doctors, I have to argue with them because they tell me he's covered under Medicare. And I said, he does not have Medicare. I do not have a Medicare card for him. His insurance is Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shield, and they argue with me. And Horizon Blue Cross, I guess, now only pays what Medicare would have paid. So he's covered under Horizon.
So that makes
No sense. Well, I guess.
Well, you know, it makes no sense from the standpoint, if you're working for the government and the Medicare is a government agency, then why would you just keep Medicare? To me, that's just.
It's actually, it's called federal employee benefits of Blue Cross Blue Shield, like, ours is like Blue Cross Blue Shield, his is FEP, Blue Cross Blue Shield.
You know, the other thing is like,
So I said, what is it that you don't like about it? Maybe I can work on it. Maybe I can change it.
and she says there's nothing?
Nothing.
Well, it probably isn't anything.
I tried.
But I think it's, you know, I think sometimes we perceive things in
But
that
it,
way.
my whole part. That's just not one person, that's like 16. even like, so I would get picked on, and this always made me laugh. So I would, she'd be like, your lesson plans need to pick up. The teacher took that class have copies. Like, that team, wherever they put, like, they do put those kids, I think lesson. Like, how could it be that one freshman hockey team has every single kid suspended?
you know, it's very hard, it's hard to teach a class.
Like, and I would
Because-
even
because-
have, like,
because
I
you-
had a kid that had his average was a 3.
So you're
The
doing,
marking period, a 3.
so you're doing.
Nothing. Do you know what he had to give up?
How do you get 3 points?
Because when he did, like, if he put his name on a test and tried anything on a test, anything, if he put anything down on the paper, I would give him a point for it.
And you have to give them 55 the first 2 months.
First 2 marking periods, and then Sue said that, and then it was 3, and it was 3rd marking period, and she goes, you have to give him a 55. And I said, I don't have to give him a 55, the kid earned a 3. I go, what is that even doing?
No, all they're doing with that is just to.
I go, this kid literally had to try to get a 3. You can't naturally get a 3.
The biggest thing you have to do is give a kid an opportunity.
I've been staying with the kid, tutoring the kid, called the parents, and they know what the parents told me, that they didn't care how he did in school, because he had to study for his driving test, and they felt that was more important. And then they told me that once he comes home from school, they can't make him do his homework, because that's his time to relax. I was like, what? But then I had the sister the following year, and she was my highest. I moved her out of range and I put her in honors. She got more on one test than he did on all tests the whole year. And then I think he dropped. Either he dropped out and went somewhere else, because then I tried to follow him, because then the next year he retook algebra again, and he did not. He had nothing. He had 0 going straight across. Like sometimes, and that's when I started emailing the parents.
Because you got kids like, everybody's got that. Like, there are some kids that are just, you just don't want them. So, kid wants to go to bed.
Okay.
Sure.
Where do you want to go after that?
Yeah. You know, kid comes back a little late from the bathroom. You don't bust his
Is there
check.
a law on how long that they can go to the bathroom for? The kids were telling me it's a policy that they're only allowed out of the room for 10 minutes.
Yeah, there's some.
Is that true?
There's some policy, yeah. But I mean, like, what that policy is there for is to deter or give you the ability to deter the habitual offender.
Well, because I have a
So-
kid every day, and that's why the kids brought it up yesterday. I have a kid that goes to the bathroom, and I don't know every time he goes to the bathroom, and he's gone for like 17 minutes. Who am I to say when he's sitting in the bathroom? They said, Miss Weinstein, there's policy, do something. He's gone. What kind of policy? I said, show me the policy.
There's
I said, there's a policy that says he can only go to the bathroom for 10 minutes?
there's something in there that says the number of the amount of time you can be out. Because like you go to if you got a kid that you got a kid that's got and he's gone for what, 10 minutes, I mean.
Well, but this kid tells me he goes to take a crap all the time.
Well,
And he
yeah.
doesn't, and then I found him also with Mr. Comey. I found him just walking around the hallway. I rang him up, he doesn't know he was taking a crap. I said, so what are you telling Mr. Comey is a liar? Like, that you didn't stand there and talk to Mr. Comey for 8 minutes?
Why do you say that?
He said, I was taking a crap.
What about Mr. Coleman?
He never even talked to Mr. Comey. He said he saw him in the hallway. I said, so you're calling Mr. Comey a liar. I said, besides the fact that Mr. Isola saw you down at the gymnasium talking to Mr. Comey on his duty by the bathrooms, and you're telling me you saw him in the hallway by nurse's office. He still stopped when he was taking a crap. I wrote him up, and then I went to Jim, and I said, Jim, this kid is straight up lying. I said, I can't. I go, Pat even told me where he was there with him. By the bathroom, and another teacher saw him by the bathroom. That's why I investigated afterwards. And then when I call the parents, they go, he did not tell you guys to take the crap. I'm like, he did. They go, and then he lied to me. I go, he didn't lie to me that, like, I would respect him more. I wouldn't have been so angry. I would have lied to me.
Well, you see, like,
It's not there.
I never like, I always respected the kid that said to me, yeah, he caught me.
Right.
You know? And the worst thing was, is like, if you came up to me and you gave me some, like, really, you know, BS answer. And the other thing is then you've been stuck with it.
Right.
Once, like this kid.
Yeah.
Okay.
I even called the nurse's office. They told me he left after 3 minutes being there. I go, but he told me he was taking a crap for 25 minutes down there. And I talked to every single nurse, just to make sure that they all saw the same thing and that neither one of them dealt with him in any other capacity. But, and then when I call, I can't even talk to that parent anymore.
I know.
I was like, besides this, I can't even talk about it. We just drive me insane. Elsie. Jeremy was on his sophomore. Apparently he bought cleats for the football team.
You bought cleats for everybody involved?
He said he bought 40-something pairs of cleats because they wanted cleats and some kids couldn't afford it, so he bought cleats. And then, according to Dan, Dan's like, we didn't ask him about anything. Because every time I talk to him, he says it. And then he told me that this kid, who's failing my class, he tells me that, the father tells me that he gets tutored by Miss Lee. So I asked Kate, I said, Kate, did you tutor him? She goes, I don't even know who the kid is. She goes, I know you're on a football team. I don't know. The father told me that the kid said he gets tutored by Miss Lee in school. And she's helpful. And he understands with her. So I walked up to Kate and I said, Kate, I said, what did you work on with this journey? She goes, oh, what are you talking about? Then she looked at her CMAC log to see if the kid knew that she was there. Did he know?
Bob.
Then she looked at her CMAC log. She goes, I've never seen that kid before.
Noi.
So I called the
Noi.
mother and I said, I don't know what
Noi.
you're talking about. Did I talk to Miss Lee? She doesn't even have a clue who Jenny is.
Do you have security over here?
What? Yes, Joe. She's sitting right on the fence, her hands on her arm, with the scarf.
Fuck you, Dad.
See the wind blowing?
You know, like, I just, why do people lie?
I don't know. And I would have more respect if they just told me, like, I was telling, like, I caught a kid, not last year, the year before, he was cheating on that class. Right, so he was going into his bag, and then he left. So the class was over, he left. So I went to his next class, and I said, listen, because I didn't have time to talk to him, like, at class. So I went to his next class, and I pulled him out, and I said, listen, it looks like you were, you know, you were going through your bag. And all of a sudden, he just goes, I didn't know what I was doing, so I cheated. And I said, all right. And then he was in his science class, and he was taking another test, and I said, well, I wish you luck on this one. And then I walked away, and I was like, well, he admitted it, which I've never had a kid actually do that. Like, they always tell you they weren't doing anything. And then I called his parents, and the parents were like, I've never experienced this. Like, I straight up said it. And I said, yeah, I was cheating. And the parent was, what? I said, so he didn't even, like, screw the issue, like, was very honest. So I think I gave him, like, that, I don't know if I gave him,
Well,
if I took points off, or, I don't think I gave him a 0.
well, I'll tell you what, the best thing that I ever had to investigate was, we had a football game away, and I'm just about, whoa, my shoulder. I know his name, so now I gotta call one of the kids out, I call their parent. So, I'm going through and I get to this one kid and so, I get on the phone with the mother. We thought your son's drinking.
Bob.
You're gonna have to come pick up. Oh, my kid was drinking. He told me.
Right.
And I could hear it. Put him on the phone right now. You know? And the other thing was like the person, the kid that it was actually found in, the mother was like, what?
they read, was Carlos, no, was that Mice of Men or no? Something.
That might have been George Orwell. He's 1984 too. So anyway, if you read that book and you get the understanding, it's basically about the Chinese culture and how the Chinese culture pretty much just fell in the toilet because of all the opium use. And this is like 8,000. You know, they used to be the great empire, and it all crumbled because everybody became, and they started selling off all their land and all this stuff. And that's, you could draw a parallel to our society. Because I could tell you this, like, this society has become a little medicated.
Yeah.
And
Well, and that's what I don't understand then. Why then?
no.
No.
Right.
So on the Monroe
I hear
post,
it, I
they
hear
do like a police blotter,
Yeah.
right? So it's like things that happen. Somebody posts it and weekly of what goes on.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you remember. I think his name was it was Christian Pinches.
Yeah. Yeah.
Was it him?
I don't
think-
know.
So he got, I don't know what he was doing, but he got pulled over for speeding or something, whatever it was, he got pulled over. But when they pulled him over, he kept touching his groin,
Yeah.
right? So the cop thought there was something suspicious. So he had drugs in there, so he was hiding the drugs.
Yeah.
So they searched him or whatever, and then they found, and then like he was arrested. They found like a good thing, like you can get a bigger one.
Yeah.
But I thought that would be nice, like, so that person down there, when you do the cop on the field during soccer, and the soccer come up here, they down there.
We hire somebody, so it's up here. On soccer, you can do up here because
They don't have the penalty.
no, it's no penalty.
But I thought that was, like, she goes, oh, she was like, we should all just chip in and buy one. Hello? Hi. No, I'm not going to come. What? I might go.